In Lusaka, Zambia, 29-year-old Chipo Banda was having a normal workday, the kind where nothing unusual ever happened. She sat at her desk going through routine financial reports, numbers she understood like a second language. Everything felt steady, predictable, safe. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at it without much thought. A credit alert. Strange, but not alarming. Sometimes systems glitch. But before she could even process it, another alert came in. And then another. This time, she stopped what she was doing. Her credit score had dropped. Not a little, drastically. Overnight. Her fingers moved quickly as she logged into her account, a quiet sense of unease creeping in. The screen loaded, and for a second she just stared, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. Multiple loans, new credit lines, transactions she didn't recognize. Her heart started pounding. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a system error. Someone had been using her identity. Her chest tightened as she scrolled further, each detail making it worse. Dates, amounts, approvals, everything looked real, too real. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. This wasn't random fraud. This was targeted. And then she saw something that made her stomach drop completely. One of the accounts listed a contact number. She knew that number. She had it saved. It belonged to her younger sister, Lindayo Banda. Growing up in Dola, Chipo Banda and her younger sister Lindayo Banda were known for being completely different, even as kids. Chipo was the one everyone relied on. She followed rules, focused on her studies, and always thought things through before acting. Teachers trusted her. Relatives praised her. If something needed to be done right, people looked at Chipo. Lindayo, on the other hand, had a different kind of energy. She was charming, funny, and full of life, but also impulsive. She acted first and figured things out later, if she figured them out at all. She often got into small troubles, nothing too serious at first, but enough to create a pattern. The problem wasn't just their personalities. It was how their parents responded. Whenever Lindayo made a mistake, there was always an explanation. She's still young. She didn't mean it. You know how she is. And almost every time, the conversation would turn to Chipo with the same quiet expectation. Be patient, be understanding, don't make it a big deal. And Chipo did exactly that. She didn't argue. She didn't complain. She adjusted. If Lindayo forgot something, Chipo covered for her. If there was tension, Chipo kept the peace. It became normal for her to carry a little extra, to fix things quietly in the background. Over time, that dynamic just stuck. Even when they grew older and started their own lives, nothing really changed. Lindayo still leaned on others when things went wrong, and Chipo was still the one who handled situations calmly without creating drama. But what Chipo was seeing now didn't feel like one of those usual situations. This wasn't a careless mistake or a moment of bad judgment. This felt different. This felt planned. Chipo didn't panic. At least not on the outside. She took a slow breath, sat back down, and started going through everything carefully. One account at a time. One transaction at a time. She knew rushing would only make things worse. The more she checked, the worse it got. There were loans taken out in her name, some small, some much bigger than she expected. New credit cards had been opened and completely maxed out. Bills had already been missed. Payment defaults were showing up on her record like a trail she didn't even know existed. Her stomach tightened as she realized this didn't happen in one day. This had been going on for a while. Whoever did this didn't just try once and stop. They kept going. They applied again and again, using different methods, different timing. It wasn't random. It was consistent. Careful. It was a system. Chipo leaned closer to her screen, now paying attention to the small details most people would miss. Application times, approval gaps, the way alerts were spaced out. And that's when something started to feel even more unsettling. The method looked familiar. Too familiar. Whoever did this knew how financial systems worked. They knew how to avoid raising suspicion too early. They knew how to delay alerts just enough to stay unnoticed. They knew exactly how far they could go before someone might catch on. This wasn't guesswork. This was knowledge. Chipo's chest felt heavy as the reality settled in. This wasn't just someone making bad decisions or acting out of desperation. This was planned, and that made it something much bigger than just a mistake. This was betrayal on purpose. Chipo stared at her phone for a long moment before making the call. Her mind was full, but her voice, she made sure, wouldn't be. When Lindayo Banda picked up, Chipo kept her tone calm, steady, almost normal. "Hey," she said, like it was just another day. "I need to ask you something." On the other end, Lindio sounded relaxed. Too relaxed. There was no hesitation, no tension in her voice. It was the kind of casual tone that instantly told Chipo one thing: this wasn't a surprise to her. Chipo didn't accuse her right away. She asked simple questions, gave her space to explain. At first, Lindio denied everything. "What are you talking about?" she said lightly. "That's not me." But Chipo didn't react. She stayed quiet for a second, then mentioned one detail, then another. Specific things only the person involved would recognize. There was a pause, and that's when Lindio's tone shifted. She didn't sound shocked anymore. She sounded defensive, careful. "It's not like that," she said. "I was going to fix it. It was just temporary. I needed help, and I knew you'd understand." Chipo listened without interrupting, but inside, something felt off. There was no real apology, no panic, no urgency to make things right. Instead, there was justification, soft excuses, words that made it sound smaller than it was, like this was just a misunderstanding, not something serious. And underneath all of it, Chipo could hear something even clearer. An expectation. The same one she had carried her whole life. That she would handle it. That she would clean it up. That, somehow, this would become her responsibility too, just like always. What Lindio didn't realize, what she probably never even thought about, was that Chipo Banda wasn't just someone who understood money. She worked in financial fraud investigation. This wasn't new to her. For years, Chipo had been handling cases almost exactly like this. She had seen how people used others' identities, how they opened accounts quietly, how they tried to stay just under the radar. She knew the tricks, the timing, the patterns. She knew how small details could expose everything. And now, for the first time, she wasn't looking at a stranger's file. She was looking at her own life. After the call ended, Chipo sat still for a moment. Anyone else might have reacted differently: anger, shouting, panic. And yes, she felt all of that somewhere inside. But she didn't let it take control. Instead, something else took over. Focus. Her mind shifted the way it always did when she worked a case. The emotions moved to the background, and the details came forward. She started thinking clearly, step by step. What had been done? How it had been done? What evidence existed? What could still be uncovered? Because she understood something important. This situation wasn't going to be fixed by arguing with Lindio. It wasn't going to be solved by hoping she would suddenly take responsibility. If anything was going to change, it had to be handled properly, carefully, precisely. So Chipo didn't chase another conversation. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't warn anyone. She simply got to work, quietly, the way she always did, knowing that the truth, if handled right, would speak for itself. Chipo didn't waste time. The moment she shifted into that focused mindset, she started documenting everything. Not just the obvious things, but every small detail that could matter later. She built a timeline first. When each loan was taken. When each credit line was opened. When payments stopped. She lined everything up carefully, looking for patterns. And the patterns were there, clear, consistent, impossible to ignore. Then she went deeper. She checked device access logs. What devices were used to log into her accounts, when, and from where. She traced IP addresses, noting locations and times. She pulled application records, reviewing the exact information that had been submitted in her name. Each step made the picture clearer. This wasn't random. This wasn't rushed. It was repeated, calculated, and confident. Chipo also knew she had to be careful. If Lindio realized what was happening too soon, she might try to cover her tracks. So instead of making noise, Chipo worked quietly behind the scenes. She reached out to internal systems she trusted, flagging the accounts in a way that wouldn't trigger obvious alerts. Just enough to secure the situation, not enough to warn anyone involved. Everything she did was controlled. No sudden moves, no emotional reactions, just strategy. By now, it wasn't only about fixing her credit or stopping the damage. That part mattered, but this had gone beyond that. Chipo was building something solid. A case backed by facts, timelines, and proof that couldn't be explained away or ignored. Something that didn't rely on opinions or emotions, just evidence. Because when the time came, she didn't want arguments. She wanted the truth to be undeniable. Chipo made a choice that most people wouldn't understand at first. She didn't confront Lindiwe again. She didn't send another warning. She didn't try to force a confession or push for answers. Instead, she stopped reacting and started observing. She let things play out just a little longer, not because she was unsure, but because she needed something solid, something that couldn't be denied later, a clear pattern that showed intent, not confusion or a one-time mistake. So she waited. And while she waited, she protected herself properly. She went through her accounts, tightened security, changed access settings, and locked down anything that could still be at risk. Anything linked to her real savings or long-term finances was secured. Quietly, carefully. No drama, no alerts, no attention drawn to it. At the same time, something interesting started happening. Lindiwe, thinking nothing had changed, assumed she was still in the clear. There was no confrontation, no serious pushback, no consequences showing up immediately. So she relaxed, and that relaxation slowly turned into confidence. She started acting like the situation wasn't serious at all, like it was already under control, like it would all just pass eventually, the way problems sometimes did when Chipo got involved. But that confidence came with a cost, because when people feel safe when they shouldn't, they stop being careful. They reuse patterns. They repeat actions. They stop hiding things as well as they should. And that was exactly what Chipo needed. Every new step Lindiwe took, every small mistake, every repeated behavior, it all added more weight to the case Chipo was quietly building. Chipo wasn't rushing anymore. She wasn't guessing. She was letting the truth reveal itself on its own. Chipo decided it was time to bring everything into one room. She arranged a family meeting, but she didn't make it sound serious. No warnings, no hints of conflict, just a simple excuse that felt normal enough for everyone to agree without thinking too much about it. Something casual, something safe. On the surface, it looked like a regular family conversation, the kind where people catch up, share updates, and spend a bit of time together. No pressure, no tension, nothing that would make Lindiwe suspicious. But behind that calm plan, everything was already in place. Chipo had prepared quietly. Every document was organized. Every transaction was printed and saved. Every record she needed was double-checked and confirmed. She wasn't going into this to guess or argue. She was going in with facts that couldn't be questioned. When the day came, Lindiwe showed up relaxed, just like Chipo expected. There was no sign of worry on her face, no hint that anything was wrong. She greeted everyone normally, sitting down as if it was just another family moment. But Chipo was watching closely. Not in a dramatic way, not openly, just quietly observing. How Lindiwe spoke, how she reacted to small comments, how comfortable she seemed. Every detail mattered now, even the smallest expression. Chipo stayed calm the entire time. She didn't rush. She didn't interrupt the natural flow of conversation. She waited, letting the moment build on its own. Because timing was everything. She knew that if she spoke too early, the truth might get buried in excuses. If she waited too long, the moment could slip. So she stayed patient. And when she finally felt the shift in the room, the right silence, the right pause, she leaned in slightly and changed everything with just one simple question. Chipo didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She simply started speaking, calm and steady, like she was reading facts from a report. One by one, she laid everything out in front of everyone in the room. The first loan, then the second, the credit cards, the applications, the dates, the devices used, the locations logged in. Every single detail she had collected quietly over time. No emotion, no anger, just clear information. At first, there was confusion in the room. Then silence. The kind of silence that makes people uncomfortable because they already know what's coming next. Chipo kept going anyway. She didn't rush. She didn't exaggerate. She just connected each point like a straight line that led to one clear conclusion. And then she stopped. That's when Lindiwe finally reacted. She tried to laugh it off at first. Then she denied it. Then she started talking faster, trying to explain things, trying to bend the story into something softer, something less serious. But it was already too late. Chipo didn't argue back. She didn't interrupt. She didn't need to. Because the evidence was already there, sitting in front of everyone like something physical that couldn't be erased with words. The confidence Lindiwe walked in with was gone. Completely gone. Her voice wasn't steady anymore. The excuses started to break apart mid-sentence, losing shape before they could even land. And in that moment, something changed in the room. The old pattern was gone. Cheapo wasn't the one absorbing everything anymore. She wasn't the one adjusting, explaining, or cleaning up the mess. She was in control now. Not emotionally, not loudly, but clearly. For the first time, she wasn't trying to fix the situation for everyone else. She was setting the terms of what would happen next. After that day, things moved quickly. Legal steps were taken, and everything started to fall into place the way it should. The fake accounts were investigated, the unauthorized loans were reviewed, and the financial damage was slowly brought under control. It wasn't instant, but it was real progress. Lindio didn't walk away from it untouched. There were consequences she had to face, not just from the financial system, but from the people around her too. The family couldn't ignore what had happened anymore. The trust was broken, and everyone could feel it. But Cheapo didn't turn it into a victory. She didn't celebrate. She didn't talk about revenge. She didn't try to make Lindio suffer more than necessary. That wasn't her goal. What she did instead was simple, but powerful. She set boundaries. For the first time, she made it clear what she would and would not carry anymore. No more silent fixing. No more cleaning up damage that wasn't hers. No more assuming she had to hold everything together just because she always had. It wasn't loud. It wasn't emotional. It was firm. And in that quiet space after everything settled, Cheapo realized something she had never fully accepted before. Being the responsible one doesn't mean you have to absorb everything that falls apart around you. It means knowing when to stop. It means understanding that some things are not yours to fix, no matter how long you've been the one fixing them.